We're loaded in to map number 1 between these two players. Spawning in the bottom left, it's our red Protoss player. Playing for Storm Gaming, this is Ryan. And spawning in the top right, already demonstrating that aggressive style of play, it's our blue Zerg player for CSO Esports. This is YoungYakov. Gotta say, nobody's surprised by this. This is not going to be anything that really tips any scales or makes it imperatively surprising. But getting into this early pool will have some interesting implications here in game number 1. It's going to set the tone rather quickly. I think it's also going to make it very clear that Ryan is going to get what he was in fact looking for, and that's going to be some very quick aggression here out of the gate and trying to get messy games, in Ryan's words, to maybe tip the scale in his favor. Now, to be fair, this was a bit of an interesting call on Ryan's part, dropping that pylon to delay the Zerglings just a little bit. It is going to be continued Zergling production out of our Zerg player. Okay, bringing some probes along for the fight. Kind of an interesting little engagement here. Zerglings are going to try and work their way in, see if they can whittle in past their opponent's Zealot, but Ryan going to use some really strong micro right now. Utilizing those probes as well to really keep that entry blocked so that they don't accidentally just pop on through, but very good defense here so far. Really no Zergling losses either. Only 2 for the cost of that whole engagement. It's really not that bad of a situation, but YoungYakov is not going to walk away happy with how that all turned out. Really no probe kills at all. Ryan doesn't lose any major momentum on his opening macro, but to be noted that that Nexus did go down rather late, so there was an investment into some more early fighting units to be able to hold down the incoming pressure. I think that is worth noting, but I don't think that's really going to bother Ryan too terribly much. Third base is going to be down for YoungYakov, albeit a little bit late, but in a nice timing to be able to keep his economy rolling. Adept Scout's going to be able to scout and see that the Zerglings have in fact all made it back home, and will be able to disengage, knowing that he's not going to have a follow-up all-in coming at his front door. So it is going to be a robotics facility immediately coming down before the Twilight Council. Now we do see the Twilight Council getting placed in the natural. Looks like it's going to be an interesting push timing. Did the Overlord manage to make it there to see that? Yep, the robotics facility was spotted. Station Legate was going to get thrown down. This is starting to feel a little bit like a quick timing attack with Adepts. Maybe just not Glaive Adepts. It's going to be Blink after all. Roach Warren's down on a pretty respectable timer. YoungYakov actually was a bit supply blocked there for a brief period of time, so a little bit of the momentum that Ryan might have lost on the defense, now he has caught back up a little bit. Good Adepts here. We'll find a little bit of damage, but the Queens doing what they need to deflect some of the pressure here. Ling speed actually not quite done. Will both of those adepts get out? They absolutely will. Not having any speed causes some problems, but these will be Lings that will be difficult to deflect. This third base should get shut down. That'll be a nice cancel here. YoungYakov kind of pulling the trigger as well. He's got a fair amount of Lings coming across the map, and there aren't that many actual units here. In fact, it's 2 Stalkers and 1 Adept. 1 Adept remaining. That final Adept is going to get picked off. What kind of production is here available here? There are 4 gateways, so there are enough warp-ins to be able to slow this down, at least for a little bit of time, but that is going to create a little bit of chaos back at home. If Ryan absolutely wanted this messy game, he has indeed found it. No major roach production yet either. In fact, there isn't any roaches in the production tab at all. So YoungYakov playing a little bit more scrappy. And playing admittedly maybe a little bit unpredictable. We are going to finally see roaches coming out, but not before a little bit of droning happens here. Those army counts are rather close to each other, and having one immortal will be nice. I think a second immortal is in the production tab. That's not going to be done for a little bit of time. Ryan's going to have to find a way to deal with the aggression that could potentially be coming back at home, but instead it is going to be Lynx putting some defense down across the map. Does finally warp in a Stalker, so not going to have any major issues there. But it not really finding a lot of engagement paths. Once again, doing lots of work with Zerglings. Glier Reconstitution being brought in. Now we're starting to see the Roach and Ravager count get brought up. It seems like Yakov is trying to hide this back in a way. Maybe get his opponent to think that he's going largely into Ling-only production. Oops, excuse me, my bad. But Observer is going to see that there is a small but growing force of Roach Ravager. Baneling Nest coming down here, +1 missile. Also being brought in. It's about 3/4 of the way done, so that will be completed here soon. We have a Dark Shrine already hitting as well, so that's going to provide some interesting depth to Ryan's army here. It's difficult to ignore, though, the growing supply count of YoungYakov, 134 to 115. Now, keep in mind, YoungYakov's army is a little bit squishier than his opponent's. So ultimately, not to have these numbers be a little bit disparaged is fine. That's not going to make a major issue here for the Protoss player. But he does need to still be careful, because while these opponents' army units are a little bit squishier, they come with the added benefit of being able to swarm around the smaller force, the bulkier force, especially when there really aren't any zealots. So charge only now being started up. I do like the fact that we're seeing DTs warped in. I think those DTs might be used for oh no, they aren't going to be Archons. Those are just going to be proxy units. Additional gateways being brought in here, 4 more, 2 in production, so that is going to bring us up to 10 gate cycle production here. And this is a rather reserved set of circumstances here for both of these players. The 4th base now on site here for YoungYakov. Ryan hasn't taken the opportunity to get out to a 4th base just yet. But what is he doing with his army count? He's really not doing a whole lot here. He's spending a lot of his resources into getting additional technology. I think he's kind of waiting for the charge upgrade to get completed here before really committing into that army position. But it's buying YoungYakov so much time here. Ryan is not really tapping this progression down at all. Oh, losing that warp prism would be so dangerously deadly. And I think the Queens might be able to try and catch it, but the DTs are going to do everything in their power to keep those from doing any major work here. And they will be able to get a decent amount of damage done, but I think finally these DTs will get cleaned up by the Zerglings. One DT does get down into the 4th base location. 8 drones do get picked off. But again, that's not the damage that we expected here out of Ryan. I think Ryan was going to come in a bit more bombastically and find some bigger damage. At least that was what it sounded like he was expecting. But instead, now he has to deal with an opponent who has a largely maxed out army. There are going to be plenty of Banelings. Going to be a great multi-pronged hit potential here. Oh, I mean, this is kind of scary situation right now. Small hit squad is going to try and work its way over to the 4th base location. These Banelings have to be careful that they don't get caught in behind these force fields. Oh, that is a lot of Protoss player units. Oh, so many of those biles actually raining down onto their own units. A little bit of friendly fire here. Warp Prism Warpin will be up in the main base of Yakov, and now Yakov is kind of caught with his tail between his legs. The only Spore Crawler that was down was locked into place. He's going to lose some of those valuable Banelings as well. Ryan immediately switching the script here over his opponent. What a quick transition. What a quick change for our Red Protoss player with a very strong engagement here. So now the biggest difference is going to be how does Yakov respond. He is able to spend down his economy and even things up, but largely not seeing a huge transition take place right now. So all things considered, 4th base is going to be settled into place. Nice amount of Banelings here. Not going to really find any damage. Good jump by Ryan on deflecting that. I think the script has been flipped here. I mean, Ryan's going to be able to hit on multiple angles here. He is now effectively maxed out. His opponent finally wrapping up a few more roaches into this army, which will be helpful, but I don't know how I feel about this. A great snipe on that Baneling nest by the DTs is just going to set up what should be an interesting engagement here. Large army going to be on the right-hand side to work away at this 4th base location. That is going to start tamping down the economy of YoungYakov. Nice little split of units here, but the Banelings are all going to get mostly caught out. They're not going to find too much damage at all, and that's going to allow these units to stutter step just a little bit. But now there's nothing to really body block for these Colossus. Lots of Roach and Ravagers here. There is going to be a follow-up attack here at that 3rd base location. Multiple drones are going down. 2 of those Colossi are still alive, but I believe they will eventually get picked off. But at what cost here? 24 workers have gone down. There is nothing to stop this onslaught of units that continue to terrorize this 3rd base location. That is going to go down. There is a sizable amount of army left, but not nearly enough to deal with everything that Ryan has on his side of the map. GG is called. Game number 1 goes to our Protoss player in red. Now, are we getting a standard game out of Yakov? What? That never happens. Well, I should say it never happens. But that should come at a bit more of a surprise here to Ryan, our blue Protoss. So the question then transitions into what should we expect? Should we expect a more standard game out of our Zerg player? My guess would be that we're going to get a timing, a specific timing, like a +1 speed roach or something with a queen walk, because Lightshade's not a bad map for the queen walk as well. Not a whole lot to talk about right now, as both players are just going to queue up the most normal looking openings here the world's ever seen. Now Ryan's going to go into a Twilight Council opening. I think that could be the bit of spice that we're looking for here in this matchup. It's pretty common right now to go into that Stargate opening, pick up the Void Ray, get down some air aggression leading up into the middle portion of the game, but I think this could end up just being a Resonating Glaive Adept all-in, which I think would just be kind of an interesting gambit. Especially given how much damage these Adepts are finding. Oh, both of them are going to get out. Will that one sneak away? It will! 2 health. Yeah, there's Resonating Glaives. Robotics Facility is on the way as well. There really isn't that many Zerglings. A lot of those Zerglings were killed off. 7 in total. How is this Adept still alive? There's so many shields now. It's going to be all brought back in. Now we've got additional gateways being brought in. 4 more. Should be 6 gate aggression. No, 5 gate. Overlord might be able to make it back to high ground. Yeah, will it? Oh! Well, there are no roaches yet. No roaches against largely Zergling. This is what we call a little dicey. Here in map number 3, Resonating Glaives are going to be finishing up here in just a moment. We do now have the Adepts moving out onto the map. Zergling will spot this moving along. Oh, I was going to say, Ryan, you gotta can't pick and choose your moment here. What do we have in the production? We got 5 roaches out. I'm not certain 5 roaches are going to be enough. Especially now as if they're coming in as Ravagers. This should continue to find plenty of damage. Those Adepts are going to work their way into this mineral line. Oh, some good biles though will eat away a little bit of the defending force here. Ultimately, that was a really good surround and engagement. But can YoungYakov keep that up? Ryan's going to keep the aggression on here. More and more of those roaches get brought into the fray, and now we will see a jump once again. It's going to be more vulnerable drones this time around, but I think Ryan should be mostly okay. He will continue warping in additional Adepts to deal more damage, but ultimately, I think Yakov's done a nice job of holding this back. Yeah, Ryan's going to have to go back home, and that's going to leave Yakov available to maybe push across the map here. He's got 3rd base already secured. Stalker coming along here to provide some additional support. And this is very all in. Here comes additional units. We are now going to get kind of just a critical mass of units, and this is very much an all-in moment. Yakov did take an opportunity to drone. He didn't drone too terribly hard, not as hard as Ryan would have wanted him to, but with a sizable amount of static defense, I think that is going to aid very, very much in this fight. 2 Immortals, though, will be helpful, but both of their barriers have been popped, so they will have limited amounts of damage potential to bring. Will these Adept Shades finish up? They are absolutely going to go for that. But the Warp Prism should do a nice job of protecting those valuable units on the flip side. Having to dodge back and forth will be a bit frustrating. But Ryan's trying to make the most of the situation here. Needs to protect those Immortals at all possible cost here. Yakov with a good defense so far, but his supply is plummeting rather quickly here. The Warp Prism is still back here, providing additional support. There are more Warpins available should Zealots want to be brought in. There is enough resources here for Ryan to utilize those. But I think that Ryan is good for now. But he hasn't started a third base behind this at all yet. What's the transition here for our blue Protoss player? I mean, Yakov has cleanly defended. There is a sizable bank here for Ryan. But now we're going to start seeing Zerglings pouring across the map. It's going to be additional units getting brought out. Ryan's just going to park it out at the center here. Yakov's got to be really confused. They're not seeing any potential third base in play. A lot of those Zerglings going to get whittled away. Do we have any upgrades? No. No, it's just going to be continued aggression. This is as all in as it can get. I think the biggest thing that Yakov has avoided that will play into his favor is the fact that he has not droned up very hard. He occasionally will pick up a few extra workers, which ends up being very, very good. He's going to throw down that Baneling nest, which will be imperative. But look at that, a very limited amount of workers on that main base here. So all of those workers are caught out at the center. Now, 4 Immortals, that's going to be a fair amount of damage here. But will it be able to soak up all of this incoming DPS of these Roaches? It's a great concave here for our Zerg player. And Ryan is going to do everything he can to juggle these units as cleanly as he possibly can. Some Warpins will be coming in as well, but that is going to be Ravager Biles that he cannot dodge. Ryan is going to lose this engagement, and with that, the series is all tied 1-1. YoungYakov brings himself back with a 10-minute game number 2. We're going to go to the rubber match here in game number 3. Okay, so Yakov here has the opportunity to possibly get aggressive right away in this series, taking that natural expand out of his third base location. Ryan kind of making him punish. Ooh, but this is kind of interesting. I think Yakov is indicating he'd like to try and take that natural expand very, very quickly. But Ryan's not going to allow that to happen freely until he has a chance to get some Zerglings out on the map. So that ends up plopping down the third base at a pretty reasonable time. It's going to be a Stargate opener finally here for Ryan. And that will create a bit more of a meta build for our blue Protoss player. Now what's going to end up coming out of that? Gonna be a Void Ray. Surprise, surprise. That's a lot of Zerglings, though. That is a lot of Zerglings. I don't know that that's gonna be enough Zerglings, though. Admittedly. I mean, it's just continued Zergling production. There's gonna get up to 36 supply. Link speed does finish up. But how do you work your way in there? There are 3 Adepts. Oh, that was almost dicey. Oh, some of those Zerglings actually end up sneaking on in. No way. I was just sitting here as like, oh, that's going to get instantly held. But some Zerglings actually going to wiggle their way through and cause more damage than I think Ryan would have ever guessed that this was going to have happened. Limiting it to only 2 probe kills, though, for 28 Zerglings. It's a pretty good exchange. As a Protoss player, you've got to feel really, really good about that engagement. Back behind this, though, there is no gas production. There will be an Oracle, additionally, to create some more damage. Killing off 3 drones is a bit nice. But I think Ryan's hoping to get a little bit more damage done. This has limited his ability to get out to a third base of his own. So we're about the 5-minute mark, and we still haven't seen an economic transition yet for our Protoss player, but no lair either. So it's going to be more Oracles. 2 Oracles already out on the map, a third one in production. We see the Twilight Council and the Forge coming down behind this. Might be able to sneak out a little bit more damage here. 2 workers getting killed off. Ooh, okay, these depths are going to get caught out in the center of the map and get on top of these adepts. Oh my gosh, look at all of the blue blocks moving around. Some stasis traps here, a little bit of damage there, a little bit of laser beaming here. This is a lot of very good distraction damage out of Ryan. Although he doesn't want to lose both of these oracles. Both oracles would be a bit of a loss. This Void Ray's got 14 kills. Most of those are actually Zergling kills, so not an overwhelming statistic to be excited about there. Nice little catch. Oh, one of those Zerglings is still going to get away, but the shield battery remains. So Ryan back behind this is really going to ramp up his production. He's got 6 Gateway incoming. He's got that Templar Archive. He's going to have Charge available this time around. And I think this is going to lean into his ability to be successful. Despite that, though, we do have a Nidus network that's going to be coming into play with that layer just finishing up. Is it going to be Queens out across the map? And if so, where are we going to see that Nidus go down? Void Ray's going to do a little bit of scouting here to try and find something out across the map. Lings are going to get brought back home as well. This all seems very confusing. It's going to be the Overseer. Now, this will not go unscouted here. Ryan has full vision of his main base. Lings are actually going to get caught completely out as well. This starts to get more and more dicey. Yeah, Ryan should have full vision of this. If he does respond to it, I don't think he is. He's definitely not responding to this right now. Yakov is going to be able to get all of his queens out onto the opposite side of the map. There should be a recall coming in on the way, but there is not. It's going to be these units on the way across the map, but Yakov is going to be able to get the Templar Archive. That's going to be blink denied. Oh, this ends up being a very scary position here. Ryan has the upper hand on the supply count, but most of that supply advantage is in workers. Suddenly the recall is going to happen, but the units get brought into the very rough part of the fight here. All the queens are going to be within range of these units, and oh no, the Warpins are going to be very, very difficult to get on the opposite side of this engagement here. But Ryan's trying to make the most of it. He still is holding on the strong army-wise. It's mostly Zerglings now pouring out of the Nidus network, and Ryan has not lost a whole lot of workers just yet. The Void Ray's been brought back home. Ryan has held, and Yakov has to tap out. GG is called. Ryan makes it out of this series at 2-1, and he will move on to face Arog Fire in the winner's match. Well played. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Make sure to click the subscribe button so you can catch more of my videos as they are released. If you want more Rushi content, feel free to find me on Twitch and Twitter. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.